Cool. All right. So we are talking about making real estate agents healthy again. Murha. Wait. Yeah. Right? MRHA. I don't know. Okay. That was a terrible joke. Okay. So Matt's like, why am I here? Most people feel that way after I tell a joke, Matt, but I'm glad that you're here, buddy. Man, dive in. I'm going to have you introduce yourself, but real quick for everybody who's here, for everybody who's going to listen later. So I was trying to figure it out this morning, Matt. I don't even know how I found out about you. But I've had, let me say this, I've had multiple iterations of like health coaches and nutrition coaches, things like that. And quite honestly, none of them have been helpful until I met Matt, and it's been a huge blessing. And specifically, I think what I was drawn to Matt first was he's a brother in Christ.
Amen.
And you have what, 6 kids?
Six.
And so you have a bunch of kids, and we're about to have our 5th. And make sure, Dave, I don't put that in the podcast. Rachel doesn't want everybody to know. I just realized that. So never mind. Just kidding. And then met Matt, and it's just been a totally different experience, right? Like what I've been fortunate with Matt is he's super responsive, number one, and I'm super grateful for that. But also he gets it. Like there's been times where, I remember early on, I had all the kids by myself. It was a weekend, and when you're a guy on kids by yourself, that's really hard. The women, I don't know how y'all do it. My wife, I don't know how she does it. You all have this extra strength that the guys don't have. And so I was really like just stressed out. It's just worn out right there, running me crazy. And I texted Matt through this app that he has, and just like, dude, I don't want to track tonight. Like I just want to eat. Like I just want to enjoy myself. And he said, do it and then get back on it tomorrow. Right. And that was helpful because every other time I've talked to anybody or whatever, I've always felt like, well, if I don't stay on it, then it's failure. And, we've talked about this before with business, whatever. My personality is if I get a flat tire, then it's like I total the car, right? Well, I had a bad meal, so I'll just eat whatever I want the rest of the day and I'll get back on it. And that's just not true. And so even someone who understands that and can help me through that and process has been really helpful. I've lost 15 pounds. I have way more energy and mental clarity than I've ever had before. And so much has just been this journey, and I've gotten a lot stronger. Dave can testify to that. No, that's weird. I'm just kidding. But it's been a blessing. It really has. And, one of the things for me, and then I'll let Matt introduce himself, but one of the things for me is I've just realized that it's my responsibility to show up as well as I can for my family first, and then to my business. And I can't do that unless I'm as healthy as I can be. And so, I've just felt that conviction and wanting to be more intentional. So super glad, Matt, that you're here, brother, to share some things with us, man. So just give us a background on you and your health journey and how you got to where you are, man. Then we'll dive into some questions.
Absolutely. So cut me off if I get going because, I'm a talker guy, so much like most of you folks. So I have a really cool story. Like we'll start current day. I have 6 beautiful, amazing kids. I am highly blessed. I have a godly wife. I grew up as a PK. I was a preacher's kid. So, I've always been in the faith, got saved early on in my life. And, as we all do, we have milestones, right? We rededicate and we rebalance, we kind of baseline of where we are. And for me, fitness has always been that great kind of happy space for me. It's helped me to manage a lot of things in life. From anxiety to stress to just life in general, right? There's a lot of value in the physical side. But what really got me going in the fitness space, I started about 20 years ago, got my exercise science degree, and always really loved exercise as a young kid. My dad was an exerciser. He liked to lift weights, things along those lines. So I had the foundation. I had the model of what it looked like. So that helped a lot. But really kind of fast forward, started my first personal training company when I was in my 20s. Did that for a couple of years, moved into more of the online coaching over the last 2 decades, and helped start a couple of companies. This is my second online business for coaching. For those of you that don't know what that really means, basically think of it as a personal trainer in your back pocket wherever you go. So as long as you got it your device, you can communicate with me through the app. You can jump on a Zoom call. I'm there. But really kind of the overall about who I am. First and foremost, I'm a godly man. My goal with my newest company was taking what the industry was doing for the physical and aligning it with the spiritual. That's really going to be key in all aspects of business. In your line of business, right? Think about that for a second. the way that you carry yourself from a spiritual perspective. That's kind of the root of it, right? How you treat people, how you love on people, how you are trusted, how you do the right thing, even when it's the hard thing. That is going to be really important in your business and your relationship. So I kind of took the coaching mentality of how do we make fitness or physical and spiritual align, and not just elevate folks, but help them to kind of mold both of those together and build disciplines and habits that really benefit both sides, physical and spiritual. So with that being said, my online coaching business is really focused on strengthen your father, impact the family, change a community. And really, that is my main goal. My mission is not to help you just get in the best shape of your life so you can go to the beach and, show off your beautiful bodies to everyone, right? That's not the goal. The goal is ultimately to get you in the best shape of your life so you can do the things that you need to do the hard things, minister to those when you're tired, right? When you're physically fit, you have a little more in the gas tank. Let's be honest. That's really kind of my mindset around what I do as a coach. Yes, we will get into nutrition. Yes, we'll get into the workout aspect, but being able to understand what comes with that linchpin of fitness is really kind of the game changer for most of my clients. And that's really where I spend my time, is around mindset, right? Focusing in on understanding that every single person's a little bit different. Their lifestyle is a little bit different. So when you try to take a coaching system and make your lifestyle fit into that coaching system, you're set up for failure. Let's be really honest. If Garrett came to you and said, hey, this is what I need you to do to make your real estate business get from here to here, but it fit your lifestyle 0% of the time, how likely are you going to do it? All right, well, maybe you'll do it for a little while. Maybe you'll follow the program. Maybe it works, but it just doesn't fit your lifestyle. That's the same thing with fitness and nutrition. You've got a lot of programs out there. They work. Yo-yo diets work. All these different things that work, but you really have to focus in on fitting individual business goals, all your lifestyle kind of choices into what you're currently doing, right? Garrett has, he's busy. He's got a lot of companies, things going on. He's got, a family. He needs his program to fit his lifestyle. So that's really what I focus on. And that's kind of really where I'm at. I've seen it all, Garrett. It's one of those things where you will see every single fad. You probably get contacted every single day through ads. I've got the next best program, the next best diet. Well, the reality is there's a lot of simple things that we can do. And we'll talk a little bit about those as we go through some of the questions that Garrett has. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, Garrett.
That's great, man. No, and I agree. One of the biggest shifts for me has been my physical health as a reflection of my mental perception and mental strength around my health, right? Like, I've worked out for a long time and, wasn't really making significant progress. I mean, I was working out 3-4 times a week and I didn't eat terrible. Like, we've gotten rid of seed oils and done a lot of things, but there was still, like, I just wasn't making progress. I was actually getting larger and I didn't really understand why. And it wasn't until really trying to start to understand how this works. And again, Matt being super understanding of, this is what I need, or like, it was my birthday on Sunday, right? Which none of you sent me a gift, and that is so rude, but that's okay. There's still time. I'll send you all my address. Actually, Andy actually said happy birthday. Dave, you said happy birthday, but I'm your business partner. You should have bought me a car. So anyways, but the reality is, it's like what my body, it looks like and feels like is such a reflection of what I think about and believe around food and fitness and those things. And we've talked a lot about excellence, right, in work. And I've just come to realize that if I want to be excellent in the work that I do, I have to be able to show up mentally clear to the best of my ability, right? And physically have the energy that I need. And that genuinely has been the biggest difference. I mean, honestly, for me, and then we'll dive into some of these questions, and anybody can ask a question at any point too. But one of the biggest shifts for me has been, normally, like, I would work all day. I'd get up, I'd work out, I'd work all day. I'd come downstairs, I'd take over basically to help my wife get a break. We'd have the kids, we'd put them to bed, all those things, right? Then 8 o'clock comes and I'd come back downstairs and my wife and I have an hour left before bed. And I'd be so exhausted, and so would she, and be like, why don't we just sit there and watch a show? right? And like, I don't want that to be our life, and neither does she. I've felt the difference now is I come downstairs and I still have energy, and I haven't had that in a long time, quite honestly, to say like, let's play a game, let's read a book, why don't we talk, why don't we do this? And it is affecting all of those other things. Like Matt said, I never said I want to show up and be totally shredded, right? I don't think I ever will be. Maybe, sorry, Matt, but that's not on you, that's on me, brother. But the bottom line is I just want to show up well for people, and this is a huge piece of responsibility that I've kind of let go, and we all need to take it back, right? And so I think that's super important. So Matt, let's
I can piggyback on that
buddy.
real quick, Garrett. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think what people don't realize is that fitness nutrition is just the linchpin to all of those things. It is a very simple place where you can build disciplines in your life, where you then can let that kind of overflow into all the other things that you do as a parent, as a business person, someone in your community, maybe someone that is working with the church. You have the energy, the discipline, the drive to do those things, and you show up more confident in your own skin. Right?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Why does it matter? Let's take a big macro view. Why does it matter that we are healthy, in relation to the Lord? Like, why does the Lord care if we take care of our body?
Absolutely. Well, I think what the easiest thing to do is to go directly to the Bible. The verse you're going to find on my site that I live by is 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. And it says, "Do you not know that your bodies are a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own." Remember, you're not your own any longer. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Right? So that's pretty broad. That's macro level. But that's a very, very clear directive of how we should live. Now, once again, the way we take care of our bodies, the way that we look, the way that Garrett looks compared to the way I look does not dictate whether or not we're following that verse. It has to do with the mindset and the actual aspirations of addressing this. None of us are going to be perfect. Only Jesus was. But to aspire to drive for perfection in those areas, it's very clearly directive in the Bible. Another one that's really big for me is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it says, "For the spirit that God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." Key word being self-discipline. Everything in life is self-discipline, right? A lot of the things that we talk about with the guys that I coach are around decisions, non-negotiables, being disciplined with our habits and things that we do. We have choices every single day. Right? We have thousands upon thousands of choices. Not all of them have a bad or the wrong choice and a good choice or the right choice, but many of them do. Some of them are just better choices. And we just need to do better at making those decisions. Once again, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be 100%, but I have what I call an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, if you can do the right thing, you will be in much better overall spiritual and physical shape in life. So.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, and everything is discipline, right? Like it's interesting to me because I've seen as I've been doing this journey with you for the past few months, feeling more disciplined about food. And it takes time, right? I think one of the challenges is I always got discouraged because why haven't I lost 10 pounds? I ate a salad. Like I should have lost 10 pounds. It doesn't make sense. And you get discouraged by that. But it's this intentional progress over time. But learning those disciplines, right? For me, it's after Bible study, when someone brings cake, just don't have any. Or if you do, have a little bit, right? Like if I have a big piece or a little piece, I'm still going to want more. So maybe have a little bit, maybe try it. And it's just practicing and learning those disciplines, but it's made me more disciplined. And I get up now earlier, right? And I'm more consistent in having my quiet time and doing it outside and getting outside in the sun. So my body gets started, and then doing the workouts, and then tracking my food, right? And more disciplined even in spending intentional time with my wife. Like discipline in your business, discipline carries over everywhere. If you find someone disciplined in something, they're probably disciplined in everything. And so that's been huge. I agree with you, like just practicing that discipline. And for me, what has always been the hardest place to have discipline is with food, right? I mean, that's the main thing. That's the hardest part. I don't mind working out, but food is the hard part. Because donuts are amazing. So what are some common challenges people face when trying to get healthy, do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think the first one is too many excuses. right? How many times do we talk ourselves out of, man, I'm just too tired to go to the gym, or, hey, I don't have time. I've got all these other things that I'm doing. Not that those things aren't important, but we make excuses. I'm a big believer in we make time for what we want to make time for. How many people agree with that, right? We do what we want to do, right? Yeah. I mean, we're all in the same boat. None of us are different when it comes to that, right? So making excuses is kind of that biggest thing. Like, I don't have enough time, or I don't have money for a coach or a gym, or, well, you do. You just have to rebudget. You have to be purposeful with your decision making, right? Okay. Hey, can I save some money on Starbucks the next 3 months and hire a coach? Sure, you probably could, right? It's the little things that if you really want it, you'll do it, right? That's the key. I would say the second thing that I notice most is that people just don't know where to start, right? There are so much information out on the interwebs, right? You look up, just right now, go into Google and type in best workout program. You'll have 10,000, 50,000 hits, and you'll have no idea. Now, are they great? Most of them probably are good, because you're doing something better that's better than nothing, right? But that's really going to be the big ones. Where to start? What do I do? How do I make the time that I have, right? And I'm talking minimal time. For me personally, I would say I probably put 3, maybe 4 hours into working out out of a whole week. Now, not including my steps. I do walk quite a bit, but really it's minimal. So what do I do to get started immediately? What is the easiest thing? And we'll talk a little more about that in a later question, but that's really going to be the big one. Where do I start? What do I do? Right. And people get discouraged by that and quit before they even start. Okay. And then the last one that I see is that when you don't see immediate results, right? How many here have tried something, possibly started something super aggressive, and within a week, you're like, I'm starving myself and nothing's happening. Why? Well, the real thing that we have to understand with that is sustainability over an entire journey. When I talk about an entire journey, until the Lord takes us home, right? So from today till the end of life, that's your journey. It's not just a single destination. It's many destinations or milestones during a journey. So understanding that results, at least quick, easy ones, are not the ones that'll be sustainable, that are well worth it. The hard thing is what you really want to do, the long-term sustainable thing. So those are the 3 kind of main things I would say that really hold people back, that are the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I think that's good. And, as an encouragement, like, you might not like going to the gym initially, and that's okay. Maybe you don't need to, but like, you do eat every day. And, you know better than me, Matt, but nutrition is the main culprit for everything. Obviously, the more muscle mass you have, the more you're burning, your metabolism's better, right? So all of that matters, but it's really about what you eat. And if you're eating every day, and like you said, I saw something the other day, and it said, what did it say? It said, if you're aware of something that needs to change and you know how to change it, and then you don't, you're choosing that thing, right? Like, we tend to not think of it that way, right? Like, if I know that I need to, well, in this context, get in shape and lose weight, right? And get healthier. And I know that I can, or I know that I can figure it out, or I know where to go figure that out, go to Matt or whatever it is. And then I don't do it. I'm choosing to stay right where I am, right? It is a choice. Everything's a choice. When you're eating every day, you're choosing, me too, right? To say, I'm going to be intentional, and this is going to affect how I feel and how I show up for people, and it's fuel, or I'm going to go and just eat whatever I want. What's that? It was my birthday and my wife's birthday 3 days apart. I had cake. And actually somebody said, hey, I should take a picture and send it to Matt and see what he says. And I was like, I think he'd say it's cool, because sometimes you got to celebrate, right? You got to live in the world too, and it's okay. But, we're making choice all the time. And if we're not changing it, we're choosing it. And that was really powerful for me, for everything, as we think about that. So how do we overcome the challenges, right? The frustration of not knowing where to start, or the discouragement, it's not happening or quick enough. Like, how do we even overcome challenges like that?
Sure. There's a lot of things you can do, but I'm a big fan of keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method. I've always used the KISS method, from just life decisions to business decisions to just decisions in general, because I think we too often overcomplicate things. And as many of you all know, you build a list of all the things you got to do today. You still got to start with one of them, right? So start simple is going to be the number one, right? Start simple as it pertains to maybe just tracking your food. I wouldn't go completely overboard and say, okay, I'm going to download this nutrition plan and I'm going to eat it to a T. Oh, that's probably overly complicated. You're probably going to give up quickly and you're going to be like, all right, I tried. Simple. Track your food. What do you eat today? What are you actually putting into your body today? Right? That way, guys like me who coach clients, I can see that and say, okay, hey, we're not too far off. There may be some encouragement there. We will be able to then figure out, okay, what's your BMR? What's your basal metabolic rate? What do we all on this call burn on a normal day? Most likely in a sedentary lifestyle for a majority of it, right? So understanding what your BMR is. Most folks on this call are probably between 1,500 and 2,200 calories a day, where you just need it to be able to function, right? Function mentally. You've got to be able to, get up, take a shower, do all the different things you have to do. So where are we at there versus our intake for food? So simply tracking food is big. So for those of you who don't track your food, never have done it, MyFitnessPal has a great app. It's free. I wouldn't go with premium. Just go with a free program. It's called MyFitnessPal. My application that I leverage uses that. It's the biggest database of food in the world. Very simple to use. Is it tedious? Absolutely. Is it simple? Yes. Track your food. Track it for a week. See where you're at, because that is going to really help you understand what are you putting into your body. Now, you may not understand, okay, I need this many calories to be in a deficit versus a maintenance or a surplus. Maybe I don't understand how much protein I need, but the reality is understanding what you're putting in your body is going to be your first step, right? So that is going to be the biggest factor across all of this. I think that, Garrett, you said, nutrition is the biggest part. I've always said that's about 90 to 95% of it, right? I thought I saw a quick comment, you can't outwork a bad diet. That's 100% correct. I have seen it 1,000 times. I've had plenty of clients over the years that have come to me and have literally said, I work out every single day. That's wonderful. What are you eating? No idea. That's going to be a major factor, right? And going back to eating in general, keep it simple, right? If you can't enjoy your lifestyle, are you going to continue to do it? Absolutely not. If I said every single time that Garrett wanted to go on vacation or have a piece of birthday cake or pizza Fridays, I'd say don't do that. It's not going to happen. He's not going to continue to sustain a lifestyle, right? I always brag and kind of joke about Friday nights are always going to be pizza and cookie nights in my house. I have 6 kids between the ages of 14 and 5, and they love pizza and cookie night. It's time with mom and dad. We usually watch a movie. Do I want to do that, or I want to be over here eating broccoli, chicken, and rice? Well, you don't have to do that anymore. That's not the reality. Now, at the end of the day, am I eating pizza and cookies every night? No. It's that 80-20 rule. So really understanding what you're putting in your body allows you the flexibility to enjoy your lifestyle and to eat a little piece of cake, or better yet, hey, I factored in a large piece of cake for today, so I'm gonna eat a whole piece of cake, right? But if you don't know what you're putting in your body, you won't be able to do that. You won't be able to kind of give and take. I'd say that the second one that I would say to encourage you to kind of overcome these challenges is understand that this is a long-term journey, right? If you keep that mindset, you will remind yourself over and over again, 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, and then you finally arrive to your first milestone, it feels a lot better. So enjoy the small wins. The small wins are, hey, the scale dropped. Maybe it's I'm sleeping a lot better. Maybe a mental clarity. Maybe it's my clothes are fitting better. It is a journey. It is an everyday journey where we're making 80% of the time the best choices we possibly can make. The long-term effects will just get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Think about it this way. I always compare everything to spiritual. If you were reading your Bible once a week, yeah, you might get some benefit. But if you're consistently reading the Bible every single day, some days you may only can read for 5 minutes. Some days maybe you sit down and you listen to an audible book, maybe a book of the Bible, and you spend an hour doing it. These are incremental journey steps that will make you and grow you closer to the Lord, right? So these are things that you're disciplining yourself. You're making non-negotiable. Are they hard? No, they're just choices. They're simple choices that you just don't necessarily want to make. You make excuses around them, things along those lines. So just kind of changing that mindset Not going to be perfect, but just getting better and striving for perfection.
I think it's similar to, it's obviously we're not talking about sanctification in the same way, but it's similar to sanctification in that I heard a pastor say we often measure our spiritual growth in weeks and months when it should be in months and years and decades, right? Like it's slow growth that the Spirit is having on us because we're stubborn, sinful people. And it's the same thing here, right? Like we tend to, a business principle, we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in 5. Right. Like at some point you look back and say, I didn't think I could get here, but I am here now. Right. And I think we've all had those moments in life. And I think you're 100% right, Matt. In anything, it starts with an awareness. Right. And we've talked about in this group, if you show me what you're doing in your business right now, like where's the consistency of the activities you're supposed to be doing? If you show me what you're doing, I'll be able to tell you what your business is going to look like in 3 months. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have awareness on what activities, what food, quote unquote, you're putting into your business, then you have no idea what your business body is going to look like, right? Same thing with our real body. If I don't have any awareness of what I'm putting into my body, how in the world am I going to know what my body's going to look like? How is it going to grow? How is it going to get better? And so I think you're absolutely right. Just gaining that awareness, right? But again, I think one of the hard parts, Matt, is we probably all heard this so many times, right? And you hear it and you're like, okay, yeah, I should do this, I do that. But I don't remember the study, but there's a study that said if you take action on something, so this is my challenge for all of us. If you take action on something you hear within the first 24 hours, you are 75% more likely to actually achieve it. 75%. So you've got to go out and take action on something, right? So it's easy to think about it, right? It's hard to put into place. So Matt, if someone was like, okay, like I get it, I've heard it, I need to actually start going in that direction. What's like one thing, 2 things, whatever, a couple ideas they could go and just take action on something today. Just start small, like you
Absolutely.
said.
I've got 3 things for you. So cool. 3 things are going to be track food, workout 1 to 3 times a week, start where you feel comfortable, where it fits your lifestyle, 8 to 10,000 steps a day on average. Those are 3 very simple things that take intentional decision-making, time boxing in your schedule. You guys are business folks. You have to time box. If you don't time box, you will get bogged down in certain areas. Time box all of these individual things. If you can do those 3 things, you will see changes in your body. Now, the only other option to kind of go on top of that is to have somebody with knowledge and accountability. I think that's where kind of Garrett and I came together, is that he knew what to do. Mm-hmm. He had a very good grasp of what to do. We made some very small tweaks, but now he just needed someone to kind of come alongside him and hold him to that. And when he got into a bind, he was able to say, hey, Matt, what do I do here? Right? My weight's stalling. Hey, it's going to happen, guys. That's where that motivation kind of just dwindles. And you're like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And then you go lower calories when maybe that wasn't the best rate for you, or the right move. So really the big thing, track food, work out, right? Work with weights, men and women alike, working with weights, the benefits from the chemical releases to the bone structure, all those types of things are going to be long-term benefits. And then obviously just move. If you've got young kids or you coach sports or whatever it may be, just move. Get a pedometer on your phone, grab a smartwatch, something along those lines to track that, really get an understanding of where you're at. That's going to be huge.
In our real estate team, and Dave can attest, they know I'm terrible at getting steps in. So that's something hard for me. Something I've just started to change is when I can change a video call to a phone call, I'll do that and I'll just walk. Yes. Right, while I'm doing it. Just something simple. I'm already doing it. Right. To me, it's and this is what Matt's talking about has been so helpful. It's while we're already going about our day, what can we do? Right. In this scenario, right? If you're not working out at all right now, if you're not lifting weights at all, right? Weights are more important than cardio for long-term longevity and health and all those things. If you're not doing that now, that's the only thing you need to add in, right? So don't think about it as I got to add all this stuff in now. Where am I going to find the time? Think of it as I'm already eating. I can just make better choices, right? Pay attention to what it is. You're already going to eat. So that's not additional time. Right. Yeah. The second thing, well, hopefully you get some steps. You're already going to be on a phone call. Just walk while you have it. Right. I mean, I have a little tiny treadmill thing in my office. Just walk or go outside. It's beautiful. Like just walk while you're on the phone. you're doing it. Like, it's not additional stuff. That was a big shift for me, was I've always felt like, oh, I got to do all this other stuff. I don't have time for anything, right? Let alone all this other stuff. So if you aren't going to the gym, if you're not lifting weights, I mean, we got dumbbells at our house. Why? Because I'm not going to go to the gym. I don't have time for that. I'm going to go to my garage and we're going to lift, right, for 30 minutes, and then I'm done, and that's it. That'd be the only additional step, right, for anybody to take. And I think that for me was a big part of the freedom of, now I'm just making different choices throughout the day. I'll go for a walk when I'm on the phone. I'll eat something different, or I won't eat that, or whatever it looks like. And having that has been massive. I mean, if you've had a real estate coach, having a coach is huge. Having someone in your corner that you can just talk to, because my motivation has waned a ton, right? And just the other day after our birthdays, and I just ate whatever I wanted, I was like, oh, my weight went up. All right, this is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. And Matt was like, bro, it's okay. Get back on it. Just track. You'll be fine. And I did. And now it's coming back down, right? And so just having someone there that's going to help you is massively helpful. But again, the encouragement from me is, we're already doing this stuff. You're already eating. You're already talking. Just walk and talk, right? Just eat different things and maybe throw in a little bit of weights along the way. It'll help. I mean, it's made a huge difference. Excuse me, Dave, not to put you on the spot too, buddy, but I know you've done a lot with your health journey as well. Like, how has it made a difference for you in your business, in your life, and all those pieces, man, if you don't mind sharing those?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, probably the biggest things, I'm a dad of 4, 19, 16, 14, and 11. So definitely keeping up with them. I think I'll be 52 in April. And I mean, primarily probably the weight training has been the big thing for me, just keeping my body, in shape that way. And I think in terms of like the steps, something for me with that is kind of like you were saying, Garrett, the way I started thinking about it, like, especially if you're a dad or mom, it's like your kid's like, oh, can you get this for me? Or I need this. And we have a 2-story house. And so I changed my mindset on that, because a lot of times I was like, and sometimes I still am as a dad, I'm like, no, you have 2 legs, you go get it, But other times I'm like, that's an opportunity for me to go get some steps, So I look at that way. Like, if somebody asks me to go get something, or if I'm parking at Costco or whatever, now I'm parking further away and just getting more steps walking in and stuff like, so simple stuff like you're talking about, Garrett, where I don't have to think about adding in another workout. I can just do it while I'm living and doing my day-to-day activities. But yeah, I mean, I joke and say I'm gonna live to 120, Lord's will, if that's His will. But
I think you will.
But at the end of the day, I do think we have so much control over it. We really do, because it is about what we're putting in our mouth and then what we're doing with our bodies, and and knowing that we have the power to do that, And so, and it does bleed over into other areas of your life too. I started getting up earlier in the morning when I really got consistent with my workouts, and that gave me more time in the morning with the Lord. That gave me longer days. It made me think about my sleep more. So it definitely bleeds over into all areas.
Yeah, it's good for sure.
So,
to add
to that, I was going to say, to add to that, I think that the most important thing there was that you were showing up for your kids. See, I think what we forget is that when you flip the 80-20 rule, the opposite direction, where a majority of the world lives is, hey, do the right thing about 20% of the time, and the other 80 is like, it's whatever, I'm just going to wing it. Well, the reality is our kids are watching us. People are watching us. I will tell you this, I have had more opportunity to speak life and the gospel into people because they came to me because they're like, dude, you must work out. You're disciplined. Like, let me tell you a little bit about discipline. It's not about the workouts. It's about my spiritual discipline. That's the key, is that I have more confidence in who I am as a man of God, what I call a kingdom warrior. That is really what we all, men and women alike, should be all about. That is our mission. We go back to the verse in 1 Corinthians where it talks about we are not our own. Well, the fitness and nutrition is just the linchpin to kind of open you up to be used by the Lord in everything we do. And it starts most importantly at home. If you've got kids still at home, use that extra energy for them. Then trickle it out to their friends and then out to the community, whether that be whatever it is. For me, it's coaching. I enjoy coaching softball, basketball, whatever it may be. That is where kind of that overall fitness helps the most for me. It's not a vanity thing. I love to look good. I want to physically look good, feel good. But at the same time, the goal is much bigger than that. So,
yeah, that's really good. Any questions for Matt? Any comments? Any
easy ones? No.
Yeah, only easy ones. Yeah, Mitzi, go ahead.
So I have a problem with getting enough protein in on a daily basis. So anything you can tell me to I do, a clean protein powder. But I think I find it hard to get in the other.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you're not alone. Men and women alike, but sadly, women in general, it seems very, very hard. Most men, I tell them like, hey, double up on your protein source for each meal. And like, all right, great. I love meat. Not everybody's the same way. So the first thing I would say is 1 gram per pound of goal weight, as low as maybe 80% of that 0.8 grams of protein per pound of goal weight is where you should be. So let's just say that your goal weight is 145 pounds. You need 145 grams of protein for the day. Okay. Now that can be daunting, but let's split that up into 3 different meals. That's about 50 grams each. Okay. My recommendation is eat the meals you enjoy. Make sure that you have some form of lean protein source, whether that be chicken, fish, some kind of lean ground beef or ground turkey, something that you can make an actual overall meal that's well-rounded. It's got carbs and fats in it, but really understanding you may just have to double up on meat. So maybe you're like, hey, I made meatballs last night with noodles and sauce. Okay. Well, how much did you eat of the actual meat? Oh, I ate 4 ounces. Okay. Well, push yourself. See if you can eat maybe 6 ounces that meal. You're only looking to get about 50 grams per meal. Okay. The other thing too is, and Garrett knows this, I'm a big fan of egg whites. Egg whites is a hack, and it is one of these things that you can blend with almost anything. So make an extra half a cup of egg whites, gives you another 15, 20 grams of protein. Mix it in with that, meatball and spaghetti meal. You won't even notice that it's there. People laugh at me all the time. They're like, what are you putting on your tacos? Like, it's chopped up egg whites. And they're like, why are you doing that? Well, it's an extra 15, 20 grams of protein that I can easily get. The other one is Greek yogurt. Non-fat Greek yogurt is amazing. You can mix protein powder with it. You can mix fruit with that, and even granola if you have the calories for it, and do those types of things. That's going to be kind of that big game changer. I'm also a big fan of meal replacement bars. So good quality protein shakes and meal replacement bars is something that anyone on a fitness and nutrition journey should have around, especially folks like you who are busy, who are running around to say business meetings. Maybe you're having coffee, maybe you're having lunches. I'm a big fan of having a protein shake prior to going into business meetings, like lunch meetings, right? The reason for that is if you go into a lunch meeting hungry, how many people are going to overeat? I'm one of those, right? Most of us do. We sadly gravitate towards the carbs and fats because that's where it's heavy. One thing I also suggest around protein would be when you go to restaurants, feel comfortable asking for what you want, right? If you want a meal that has chicken and you don't want the rice with it, you just want the veggies, ask them to double up the chicken. Okay, you'll pay a little bit of a premium, but what is it worth to you from a physical perspective to get what you need to meet your goals for the day? So
that's good.
Also,
it's great. And Mitzi, that's a great question. I'll just say for me, what I've found is helpful is I have way more discipline in the morning than I do at night. And sometimes I'll pre-plan for the entire day. I don't always. And when I do, like the night before, I'll choose what I'm going to eat for the entire day. That's super helpful and really easy. But when I don't, I'll work out in the morning. I have my protein shake, and then I eat a bunch of good protein and good fat. I almost have 0 carbs for breakfast, right? And then I've front loaded it because later in the day, I'm going to want bread or I'm going to want whatever. My wife's been making sourdough, and because we're a good homeschool Christian family, right? So we make our own sourdough. She does. Yes, right, of course. But I'm going to want some of that, and I don't want to like, if I get to the point where it's like, I can't have it, but it smells so good, I know that's going to make it harder. I'm probably going to fall off the wagon, for that day. And so I front load protein. That's been really helpful. And then you will find Greek yogurt is huge for us at the end of the day. And then like Costco has these little chicken packets, and it's like 24 grams of protein. And that's basically all it is. Right. So just small things like that have been staples of, man, I need some protein, and I just eat that. It's once you get used to it, I'll say this is protein is so much more satiating than processed carbs. And so you end up like wanting it, right? And so you find it. Yeah. So you just want it. But yeah, for me, front loading has been really helpful in the day. But Andy, go ahead, buddy. Great question, Mitzi.
Yeah. So follow-up question on the protein. You mentioned that ratio of 0.8 to 1 gram per goal weight.
Yeah.
That's way higher than what my body is used to. Is that for a fit person, or is that for as you're trying to get fit and lose weight? And the second question is, I'm trying to work the Noom program. So I have been thinking about protein and how to increase that, but I've noticed, without saying too much, protein changes how your system
processes.
How do you, as you're trying to increase your protein, how do you, not be constipated?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is a common thing, and sadly less common for men than it is for women. Right. So right now I'm working with my wife. She's convinced herself that she's ready to go to do everything she's not overweight by any means, but she wants to be more fit. And that's the biggest thing she complains about. One is fiber. We have to make sure that from a carbohydrates perspective, we're eating a lot of greens. We're making sure, and if you can't do that, or you just don't like that, or doesn't fit your lifestyle, some form of fiber gummy, Metamucil, something that's going to help you in that aspect. Your body will adjust though. So I would recommend, if let's just say that you're 50 to 60 grams under the number of what you really should be at, I would say incrementally work up. You don't need to day one go 220 grams of protein or whatever it may be, right? I think what people also need to understand is that protein is one of those items in the body that utilizes energy to be processed. So you are getting an additional benefit. The higher amount of protein that you need to process, the more actual carbs and fats will be used for energy to actually process those proteins. So that's going to be a really good aspect of that. And your body will regulate in time. Now, it may not be in the first week, but by the end of the first month, first 2 to 4 weeks or so, your body will start processing it a little bit better. Water is going to be another big factor of that, other than fiber. So making sure your water intake's high. Anywhere from 2 to 4 liters a day. 2 liters is about a half a gallon of water a day. And that can include bubbly water. So if you don't like regular water, try lemon in it. If you don't like that, you can definitely drink, sparkling water and those types of things, flavored waters with zero calories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question, Andy. Excuse me. And I would just say to you as well, Andy, yeah, your body's it's gonna take time for it to adjust. And I just actually heard, I was listening to a podcast the other day, 95% of Americans are fiber deficient. And so, yeah, we've incorporated fiber gummies. And I think, paying attention to protein and fiber, those two things alone will be game changers. And just how you feel and how your body processes. And anyways, we don't have to get down the entire rabbit hole, but I'll share with you guys. I don't care, and Matt knows, but I'm going to do a total gut reset protocol in about 2 weeks when we get back. We have an EXP trip in Cabo, and I'm going to do a total gut reset, right? The microbiome of what's going on in your gut and what's actually happening and all of the inflammation and all those things, right? It starts with get protein, good quality protein, and get fiber. Like those are the things, because if not, all the stuff in your body that causes inflammation and problems, it feeds on processed crap like carbs. Not all carbs are bad, right? That's not true at all. But most of the foods that we eat are highly processed, and it's going to just make it impossible to lose weight. It makes you feel terrible. It means that you don't have energy, right? All of those things. So it could be the protein. I would say it's probably, like Matt said, the fiber. And then what kind of carbs are you feeding your body, and what is it feeding on that's going to just create these bad, consistent processes in your body? You might want to try like intermittent fasting. Andy, because that's been really helpful. That was helpful for me as I was trying to figure out how to get started. Timed eating was easier than tracked eating for me at the beginning. And so, like, the typical is 16-8. So 16 hours you don't eat, and 8 hours you do. And so, like, at 8 p.m. the night before, you stop eating, and you don't eat until 12 noon the next day, right? And that might help too. There's variations to that. That would help your body kind of process some of that stuff too. I mean, Matt knows way more than me. These just, I'm parroting things I've read.
Good.
Yeah, Mitzi, go ahead.
Quick question for Matt. For clean protein bars, have you heard of Aloha?
I haven't.
A friend of mine told me about those because I'm an ingredient label investigator, and so I look at a lot of those protein bars and stuff that are like full of nonsense.
Yes.
So my friend told me about that one that she does, and she's a health coach too. But which bars do you like?
Sure. So I will start, before I get into the bars, I will say I am a big fan of real food protein prior to bars or shakes.
Right.
If you can't do that, obviously bars and shakes will be the one that you need to go do. Fairlife is a big brand for what I like from a protein shake. From ingredients, they're pretty decent, middle of the ground, middle of the road, and they taste great. From a protein bar perspective, I only use Metrex, MET-RX. They make a lot of great, what I would call meal replacement. Meal replacement is key because a lot of the protein bars out there will be high protein, next to no carbs at all. And there's a lot of fillers of fake sugars and all that good stuff. So I kind of stay away from those. So Metrex has a very well-rounded macro friendly. When I talk about macronutrients, your fat, your carbs, and your protein. Right. So that gives you a good balance, because I think we need to go back to what we've been talking about this whole time, which is really keep things simple. You just need to understand that whenever you eat, you need the same portion of protein as you do carbs, right? Everything else in there, whatever you cooked with, oil, butter, whatever it may be, there's your fats. If you didn't cook with that kind of stuff, you can add healthy fats. But really the main goal is your carbs and your proteins, and understanding that you need to get proportional with that. Most of the time, we're just not proportional, and that ends up hurting us, not day one, not even week one, but down the road. A year of eating like that hurts you, just like if you eat proportionally, what a year down the road will look like for you. So,
yes, I've got a background in health and nutrition coaching too. So a lot of that, like the intermittent fasting, I definitely recommend. I mean, I don't know that it works for everybody, but it works well for me. I like to follow that.
I use it as a tool in my toolkit. So there's a lot of tools in your toolkit, right? Fasting being one of those. And as a coach, that's a lot of what I teach in my program is, let's start really, really simple. Let's just track our food. I always call it play Tetris. So what Garrett was talking about the night before, I encourage guys the night before or the day of, before you eat anything, plug in everything you're going to eat. Oh, okay, we're going to do this for dinner as a family, or we're going to go out tonight. Plan that meal. That's your one good meal for the day. Everything else, we need to learn to treat as fuel. I think we've gotten into this habit as people, as humans, everything has to taste good. Well, the reality is it doesn't all have to taste good. You need specific aspects of fuel for not only performance, mental clarity, and being able to function in life and be able to have energy, but focusing on one good meal a day. Everything else is fuel. Plug it in. You can still manipulate it throughout the day, but at least you have a good goal to hit. And if you hit that goal exactly, then you'll hit your macronutrients and your carb or your calories for the day.
It's been amazing when I've hit it consistently day after day after day, how effective it is. And I wake up feeling so much better. I sleep so much better. I mean, and yeah, you're losing weight too, which all of that helps. But I mean, it's incredible, the difference, quite honestly, like absolutely incredible, that I want to do it. Sometimes I'm like, I just want to eat whatever I want, but I've never been in a place where I want to do it, because I'm like, man, I know what I feel like. Now I don't want to eat that brownie because, whatever. I know that I'm going to feel like junk the next day, and it's not worth it because that's going to stay with me.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
So you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
You know that if you do this, you're sacrificing the goals and the things that you're doing to go the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because, everybody knows again that I love donuts. I haven't had a donut in a long time, and that's hard for me. I could have a donut. I could work it in, right? And actually I need to go get a donut. I've talked about them too much today, but I could work it in. And even if it's like, okay, I'm just going to go have some donuts with my kids because I want to, and then I'll be good the rest of the day. That's okay too. But the point is, like, I don't even crave it like I used to, because what's always been weird to me, myself, is I know I'm making a decision that this is going to taste good for like 5 seconds, but I'm going to feel bad for like 10 hours. And yet I still do it. It doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. Just make a different decision. And it's just that the ability to just make that decision and just change and do it enough where now your body doesn't want those things anymore. Like, it just is going to take that time, I think, to shift. It's not that I don't enjoy sweets. And I honestly feel like even though I'm hitting my macros, I feel like I'm eating really good food. Like this morning I had a bagel and it had strawberry jam on it. Now we're buying things that are more macro friendly, but I didn't feel like I deprived myself by any means, right? Like yesterday I had cheese and crackers. It fit. I can have these things. It's just being intentional with that. And it's how I feel today. It's how I feel the next day, right? I mean, I literally have 6 coaching sessions today. There is no way, even 6 months ago when I wasn't working with Matt, that I would have the energy or clarity. I haven't taken a nap in the middle of the day in a long time. And you guys know, if you listen to the podcast, I take naps all the time. I don't feel like I need to. I mean, that's a huge shift. And it's just by making intentional choices often enough that is getting you to the goal, right? Like, you're not going to be there right away. It's going to take a long time, but like anything in your business, whatever, if we want to be more excellent, it takes us making a different choice here and maybe a different choice there, and just doing that enough where that becomes a habit for us, a routine for us, right? And it takes time, but you're going to feel the difference. And again, for me, like, I don't want to go back to feeling, slothful and honestly lack of energy and brain fog. Like, I don't want that, nor do I think that's the best way to honor the Lord and honor my family. Right. So like, I want to do this well, and I think it kind of perpetuates itself. Sorry, I know we're close to time, but Mitzi, go ahead. And then
I just have a quick question in regards to those egg whites. Do you use any of the egg whites that are out of the carton? Like you buy the big ones from Costco or Sam's or whatever. Are those as good as using an egg, like an
actual egg, which are like $100?
They are just as good, and that's what I gravitate to. Because we don't do it now. If you're a family that does a lot of stuff with egg yolks, maybe you make a lot of different stuff, maybe make your own homemade pasta, I would say go for it. But I would say that the actual cartons are the best way to do from a perspective. Absolutely. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, especially nowadays. That's a good question, Mitzi, because eggs are like $800 an egg, and you're like, is this from a falcon? I don't know what bird it would be from. Matt, man, that's awesome, buddy. If they want to connect with you or learn more or whatever, how would they go about doing that, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either find me on Facebook, Matt Maines, Maines. You can also find me on Instagram, Audience of One Fitness, or you can jump on my website, which is audienceofonefitness.com. And I can put that in the chat too.
Yeah, nice, man. And I'll put that in the podcast, and we can put that in the school replay as well. So we'll have all those things. But yeah, man, I appreciate it, bro. I think that at the end of the day, for anybody, I was weighed way more than I'd ever had. And I just wasn't paying attention. And I've still got plenty of room to go. But it was just taking a step. Like, the biggest thing was I hired Matt, and it made me take it seriously. But it's just, I'm not at the end of this race, like Matt said. But the biggest shift for me, and I'll just share this for anybody. My dad is 70, and Tyler, who's my best friend, Tyler Wilson, who many of you know who he is, his father-in-law is 68. Well, my dad, and I love him, never took what he ate seriously, hasn't really exercised consistently. And so, thankfully he's still alive, but he doesn't get around very well, right? He can't run around with my kids. He can't do any of those things. Well, Tyler's father-in-law is 68. He's still going to CrossFit. I mean, the dude's a beast, right? I don't think I'll be that, but like he's still running around. He's running around with the grandkids. He's doing CrossFit competitions. He's doing all this stuff because he's intentional with what he eats and what he does. And for me, this is about, Lord willing, if I'm still alive, I want to run around with my grandkids, right? Like I want to be able to do that. I want to have the mental clarity to engage them well. I don't want, to have a knee surgery and a knee replacement and all these other things. If I can help it, it's the Lord's decision. But, if I can have some sort of input into how that plays out, I want to be able to do that. And so it's this long-term intentionality of what do I want to feel like and how do I want to use my life? And exactly what Matt said, like I want to show up well for the places the Lord puts me, and it requires me to be intentional with what I eat and what I do. So that's just an encouragement, right? Like it's a stewardship thing. At the end of the day, you've been given a body, steward it. You've been given money, steward it. You've been given a family, steward it. We have to take responsibility for the things that we've been given and not abdicate them to something else, or just intentionally say, whatever, I don't care, I'm just going to do whatever I want. That's not stewardship, right? And I'm guilty of it hardcore. And so I'm challenging myself there too. But man, go take a step today. Get MyFitnessPal, download it, and just start tracking. Maybe get outside and take a call while you're walking. Do something and head in that direction. And I think the coolest thing is 6 months from now, a year from now, you could be in a totally different spot, and you won't get there unless you start, right? So just get moving. And I think that'll make such a big difference. So, man, Matt, I appreciate you and your willingness to come on, buddy. Super, super helpful. I know there's so much more we could get into, but man, I'm so grateful that you were here. Will you, Matt, do you mind closing us out in prayer?
Not at all. Thanks for having me first off, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, just thank you for this group. Thank you for their hearts. Thank you for their willingness to take the time and to being so engaged. And Lord, I'm going to encourage them too, that, this is just one of the many linchpins of building discipline and habits in our lives that glorify you. They don't stop with fitness and nutrition. They just kind of start with that. They start with the ability to have the energy and the confidence to be kingdom warriors. Lord, like Garrett was saying, if we're not the ones making the right decisions, people are watching us, specifically our children and the ones in our circle. Why would they do it if we're not even doing it? Lord, help us to be an example to others around us that a man with 6 kids and a lot of stuff going on can be in good shape and be disciplined, not only with his physical life, but his spiritual life. That goes a long way. People will reach out to you. People will ask you, and you will have opportunities to speak life and speak the gospel into their lives because of that. Lord, I pray that each and every one of these folks will have the ability to use their business to glorify you. Lord, I pray that if it be your will, that you will help each and every one of them to grow their business, to grow their sphere of influence, Lord, because the ripple effect is monumental. The things that we do on a daily basis, the leading by example and leading people to the cross is more important than anything that we will ever do here. Like that verse in Corinthians says, Lord, we are not our own. We are your vessels. We are your servants, Lord, and help us to live in such a way that we display that to the world, and that you will give us opportunities. And not only will we see them, that we will be willing to quickly and actively jump into those opportunities to minister to others. Thank you for Garrett and what he's doing here, and continue to bless him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Ladies,
Love you guys. Love you all. And Todd just tried to get in. Todd's a little late, Dave.
Thank you.
We'll tell him
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks, buddy. All right, guys, this will be up in the school here shortly, too, so you can watch the replay or tell everybody about it. Making realtors healthy again. Love you guys. Have an awesome week.
All right, bye.
Bye.